Call the meeting in order. It is now 18:31. Right. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, roll call. Neil. Present. Oh, who's next? Who's next?
Mike, President.
I'm here, and Grant is, will not be attending tonight. We're all here. Okay, additions, deletions, done. Oh, correct? Is that correct? And anybody, got any public comments?
No one online?
No one here online?
No one.
Nobody is there either? Okay. Okay, we need to make a motion for the consent, right? Yep. Okay, consent agenda. You have a motion to approve.
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
Any discussions? Didn't think I had anything. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Excellent. Motion is passed. Oh, I thought he, yep,
Yep, there we go.
there we go. Okay. So we have one absent already.
Yes.
He didn't make it to the first meeting.
Kristen is one of our football players and he let me know that he injured his hand at practice today and he's on his way to get his hand checked out.
Oh, no.
So,
I know that.
but we are very fortunate. Kaylin is here and she has plenty to share with you tonight. Are you ready?
Oh, okay.
Yes, we're ready.
All right, so soccer just finished a cookie fundraiser on September 9th. We raised about $8,000 in cookie dough. We tied versus Onalaska 2-2 on September 16th, and then we won our first game versus Toledo 2-1 on September 18th. Football just finished their fundraiser for the gold cards. The report hasn't come back yet because they're still calculating how much they made. They won their first game versus Aberdeen 33-7 on September 20th. Their next game is this Friday, which is the homecoming game at 7 p.m. Golf won three matches, 2 against Hoquiam and then 1 against Nino. They played against Elma today at Oak Ridge Golf Course, but we don't know the results for it quite yet. For volleyball, they're playing hard and it's always super close. The varsity has put their best game together versus Aberdeen on Monday. The coach was excited to see noticeable growth. The JV, however, has won 3 games so far. Swimming recently won a match against Shelton on September 17th. They also had a match yesterday and we beat both Black Hills and Centralia. Fall cheer, they bring spirit wherever they are. They recently attended the Go with UW Spirit Day at the University of Washington last Saturday and had a fabulous time. It was pretty fun. Cross country has been attending some invites and the top marks have included some of the names Gunnar Morgan, Sadie DuPont, and Tady Evanstar. Their first and only home meet is tomorrow at Thursday, the 26th at the high school, starting at 4 p.m. This will also be their senior night, and the seniors include Mercedes DuPont, Gunnar Morgan, Tady Evanstar, Brendan Pontes, Loden Coombs, and Mason Young. That's all what I have for the sports. And then for the clubs, FFA has hosted a school barbecue on September 17th, and a lot of families came out to play yard games, had food, and overall had a pretty great time. We also went to the state fair for livestock judging on September 14th. Again, we had a lot of fun. The next event that's coming up for us is the Evergreen Tour at the Southwest Fair on October 1st to learn leadership skills, get to know people around our district, and meet the state officers. For drama, auditions were on the 10th and 11th of September, and the play is called Rebecca, and it's on November 22nd and 23rd. Skills USA has diligently been preparing for regionals anytime that they can, and they're also getting a bunch of fundraisers organized. FBLA is fundraising by doing a bunch of concessions at football games, and Link Crew, before school had even started, Link Crew had a leadership boot camp on August 12th through the 14th, training to help plan freshman orientation. We did lead the freshmen around the school, showing them where their classes would be to get them comfortable. For trap shooting, they're doing recreation shooting for members and planning fundraisers again. This week is homecoming week, and we do have spirit days. We had a good couple spirit days on Monday and Tuesday. Today was whiteout. And tomorrow it's teachers dress as students, students dress as teachers. For Friday, it's all out blue and gold. The theme for the homecoming dance is Arabian Nights. The theme for the homecoming football game is Western. And the 2024 homecoming court for freshmen, it's Princess Uretzi Martinez and her escort, Jessamy Barles. For sophomore, it's Chloe Hess with her escort, Lizzie Hoover. For junior, it's Princess Day Balcourt, yeah. And then for senior, the attendants are me, Allie Green, and Taylor Staley, and the senior prince is Iva Castillo. And that's what I got.
Yeah. And you get to wear the crown.
Do get to.
Good report, Kenneth. Thank you. Swimming, I kind of got interested in that for a second. It sounds like they're winning. Are we still combined with Centralia as a team, or do we have our own team and have a sense of how many people are out?
They're combined.
They're still combined. So we have a couple kids or a few kids.
Or five.
Thank you.
Susie? Questions? Neil?
None at this time.
Well, you know, I got a question. What about skeet?
Huh?
Skeet. When's skeet? Trap shooting.
Trap shooting, I did ask Jesky, and he said that they're just recreation shooting, so he's there to help them practice, but that's about it for them. He said that he's also trying to figure out what fundraisers to do so they can raise money to actually do trap shooting, but they haven't been very active because they shoot in the spring.
Okay, well, that leads into my second question then. How about Krispy Kreme donuts?
FFA normally does that fundraiser. They do it during plant sale or whenever they really can, where there's like a double header where we think that we can get a bunch of money for it, I guess.
Okay, and the last one for you, are they having the cars for homecoming?
Yeah. The classic cars for
Yeah, the classic cars.
Friday for
Is
the
that-
homecoming.
Okay. That's all I have for you.
I don't know.
Nice job, Galen. Thank you.
Okay, principals reports.
All right, so we have, yes. Am I going first? Yeah, first, yeah. Yeah, each of the principals tonight are gonna share with you their goals from their SIP plan and some of the actions. And then just something about the startup for school this year. So, Dan,
Okay.
thanks for starting.
I'm ready. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm ready to get started. So our first goal within our school improvement plan this year, you can see on the screen, is that during our school year this year, we'll increase the percentage of students that are scoring in the on grade level zone or the green zone in the phonics domain from 65% to 80% of students meeting that proficiency as measured by our iReady reading assessment. And we decided to focus on phonics and not the whole ELA component of iReady, because a lot of the work that we're doing with our new curriculum adoption and the learning our teachers are doing is centered on phonics instruction. So that is our goal for phonics. The actions included in this goal, and there are a few listed here from our SIP. We're doing some letters learning that we're continuing with Joey Easley. I know you've heard about that in years past. We're continuing that work. And then teachers are implementing that learning in their instruction of phonics. We're ensuring an evidence-based, explicit and structured tier 1 instruction for phonics. So this is within our UFly adoption. So UFly could not tell you the acronym stands for. I'm looking at Justin because I don't know. Universal for, okay, good, okay. But it is our new adoption for our structured tier 1 phonics for our kids K2. And we're ensuring as well research-based, explicit, structured tier 2 instruction. So when we're talking about tiers, tier 1 is our core. That means all of our students are receiving that instruction, and that's at that grade level's essential standards. If you're talking tier 2, it's students who might need some extra support with the essential standards for that grade level. So when we're ensuring that students are getting that explicit instruction, we're using research-based models like our phonics PLL kids. We're doing some multisensory experiences, but we're supporting kids through tier 2. Teachers are continuing to do unit planning. So unit planning has been a big focus for us, specifically in this school, focusing on steps 5 and 6 of the unit plan. When we're planning for that core instruction in phonics, we're also planning for how to meet tier 2 needs of kids at the same time. That's been the focus within our PLC time, which is shown to impact how we're doing in the classroom. And then our family reading night, which we did last year. I know Mr. Langer was there with our FAST team for our bingo for books. And then we're going to continue that with FAST and layer in more opportunities for some instructional pieces for our families as well about how they can help kids with phonics at home. We're measuring that with our iReady phonics data specifically, our phonics screening data. So we do a screener called PSI. It's an inventory of skills in phonics. We also have classroom walkthrough and observation data. How are we making sure that the teachers learning through letters and other things are being applied in the classroom? So what are our look fors, and are we seeing that happening in our classrooms? And then common formative assessments, which would be the pieces UFly has a progress monitoring component. Every 5th lesson, there's progress monitoring on how our students are doing with the phonics skills that have been taught. And then also family night would be attendance data. And Kelsey and I were talking on the way here, and she said, I'm going to give it away. She's thinking about doing a survey for her families on feedback on how the event went, what things could be different, which I like as well as a data point. So goal 2. This goal, I would like to say, nests into goal number 1, which is school-wide. This one also speaks to the area of reading. During the 24-25 school year, 50% of students with special education needs in reading will achieve typical growth as measured by the iReady reading diagnostic. Last year, only 5% of these students met this growth benchmark, and we know we have work to do here. So these are students specifically who need specialized instruction in reading. And we have some actions to do that. So you heard about tier 1 and tier 2 in our first action. We're thinking about a multi-tiered system of support. This is where tier 3 happens for our students. And those are kids who need support with the universal or foundational skills in reading. So we're ensuring that we're having that tier 3 instruction. We're doing some work with our new special education teachers to use a Sunday curriculum that is supportive of students who have dyslexic-like tendencies that we've seen results in other areas and want to continue that over into special education. We have coaching support for our K2 special education teachers to ensure aligned instruction. So we received a grant for reducing restraint and eliminating isolation, RREI. And those grant funds also came with coaching support from UW Herring Center, special education specialists or experts that come down and are going to assist our 2 new special education teachers in best practices for instruction during their time, which is amazing. Laura Staley did a lot of the groundwork for us in this, and it starts, I think they're coming their first time tomorrow. I get to meet Laura in the office at 8:30. Then we are doing some collaboration between special education teachers and our general education teachers to provide intentional scaffolds within the tier 1. So if students need tier 3 supports, they need help with their universal skills in the area of reading, highly likely that they're going to need help accessing the tier 1 component of their day. What does that look like for our teachers who are doing that core instruction? And how can we build a system where our special education teachers and our general education teachers are collaborating on what that would look like? I will say a lot of this goal is championed by Nicole Kernick. Nicole Kernick is my assistant principal that you all approved last year. Thank you. And she's amazing. I'm really excited to see what will happen in the area of special education this year at RPS. and that is reading focused. Again, similar measures with the iReady phonics data. I think they're all the same, actually, measures for that goal as well. And all the kids with their books. You can keep going. Goal 3. So goal 3 goes into kind of that social emotional behavior realm that we've been working on. RPS will decrease the number of referrals for students not being safe is the term that's used in Skyward or cumulative to identify a certain group of behaviors. We want to reduce that by 50% as measured by incidents that are now reported in cumulative. So last year we had 1,100 incidents total in our building. About 600 of them were reported as not being safe behaviors. That might be hitting, pushing, shoving, climbing on furniture, those types of things. We want a reduction in that. And a lot of the work that we're doing with our foundations team is going to help with that. And we wanted to capture it in a goal. So instruction of tier 1 essential behaviors. So we've identified what our essential behaviors are for our building and how we're going to explicitly teach those at the beginning of the school year so that we can hold the kids accountable for meeting them and so that we can provide supports with specific skills instead of trying to get everything. Family engagement. So again, with our grant, we're working with UW's Project Echo for parents and caregivers. So it's an open course for families of students who have challenging behaviors. And it's a lunchtime Zoom session with a large group of support staff collected through UW's panel. So there's behavior analysts, there's special education teachers, there's psychologists who can provide parent support. And we're really excited to be offering that for our families this year. Behavior scenario protocol. So this is with Jessica Whitehead. We're going to start our all staff meetings each month, working through some behavior scenarios. We've done a lot of our capacity building and understanding regulation, co-regulation. We know what the levels of behaviors are, but we need to practice. And that application comes through some role modeling. This is what happened. Here's how it was done. What could we have done differently? And we need to do that as a whole staff. So it'll be a protocol that's followed at our meetings so that we are giving input to each other and learning from each other. And then coordinated and seamless support for students and staff related to incidents of misbehavior. When this happens, do we know what steps we follow in moving forward with repairing, accountability, and those pieces? Measures. Quarterly staff feedback surveys. Sarah Gerber-Kai, our wonderful counselor, is going to be doing some feedback surveys. Results from the combative formative assessments. So now that we have essential behaviors, we have some assessments that align to monitoring those behaviors in the classroom that teachers will be providing us data on. Foundations teams, agendas, and updates will monitor our work with behavior as well as feedback through our leadership team. And then, of course, referral data that'll be provided through Q. Which we're still learning about how to enter and get everything in there the right way. And then I'm ending with a school story. So I didn't know Mr. Dahl was going to be here today, but we wanted to know a start of school story. And I had a lot of things bouncing around my head, and Nicole and I brainstormed a bit, but I just want to bring to light why I love to work here. We had a realignment of the buses. I come from a school where you had 3 buses picking up kids in my past life, and there are a lot of buses in this particular location. And there are a lot of kids going lots of different ways. And we get out to the buses and they've renumbered the buses. But it's not, we haven't redone some things. And it was a little bit chaotic, especially when your kids are 5, 6, 7, and 8. They need to know what bus they're going on. They don't always know their numbers. The adults need to know their numbers, but when the number we have on the ground doesn't match the number on the bus, it creates chaos. So I think it was a 1-day turnaround. Mr. Dahl dropped everything that he was doing, came to our school, blacked out the old numbers. So the picture on the far left here, blacked out the old numbers. He didn't just put it over the top. Mr. Dahl does everything very nicely. He blacked out the old numbers, then he stenciled in the new numbers. They're all in order. And then on the other side of the buses, we now have a walkway with that bus number. So if we're thinking about foundations and stoic and how we structure a space to make things efficient for kids, this had a huge impact on how we board our buses at the end of the day. And Mr. Dahl we cannot thank you enough for this because it's done so beautifully. The other piece to this is coming out to buses at the end of that day. Jennifer Bethman was at the buses. Justin Black was at the buses. Ed Dow was at the buses. Brenda Barton from the bus garage came to the buses with 2 other people because the first day, the day before, it was not great. But when you come out at the end of the day and you see this group of people that knows we had an issue here and we're all here to support and help you, that is a true testament to the district that we work in. And I feel very happy to be here. So Mr. Dow, thank you. And the picture in the middle is Mr. Dow being goalie at Day of Champions last year. I was trying to find the one, Mr. Dow, where you wore your crazy hat, but I couldn't find your Jamaica, Mr. Dow. So he gets to be goalie. But I really appreciate it. We do. Anyways, that's my start of the school year story for you all. It wasn't student specific related, but it was a big deal. Yeah. Questions?
First of all, it'd be great to have a video day 1 just for fun. Day 2, something like that. Project Echo.
Yeah.
I have some familiarity with the model.
Okay.
So what's happening? The kids, the parents come in like after school and you have access to these experts? or
It's a
during school
lunch
day?
Zoom session.
During
So,
lunch.
yes, so in their process for doing this, they've identified that parents are most available during the day, during a lunchtime. So they run this from 12 to 1, and it is not just Rochester that participates, it's families from all over. And I don't get to go, and staff members don't get to go, so that parents feel safe and they can talk through issues behaviorally that are challenging their kids. It's
Okay, so it's just the parents.
just the parents.
Is it just for the primary or do the other schools have it as well?
It's just for the primary, but I have a feeling that other parents will join because they'll be siblings.
Yeah.
Probably. Mhm. But
Good deal. That's.
yeah, I'm very excited for this, for our families. So,
That was kind of my question.
Laura might know too.
How do you find the parents? I mean, how do you know?
I've already had a few key meetings with some parents that if they're struggling with behavior at school, a lot of times struggling with behavior at home. And when we have the meeting to support the student, we offer, hey, this is coming up. We've also shared it out in the SMORE newsletter that's going out tomorrow with a registration link. And then my counselor is going to connect with some key parents that we want to try. I think it would be good for everybody. I just think that, you know, kids are one way at home and one way at school sometimes too, and we don't even know what's happening sometimes. So we're really excited. Yeah. Any other questions?
Neil?
None? Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is the walking feet, are you having problems with kids running? Is that why that's on there? Because it says inside volume, which I
Uh-huh.
understand that. Hands to self, understand that, pretty
Think to
simple.
self too, all the
But
things.
walking,
Uh-huh.
is that,
In the building, yes. There's a lot of, if you're a kindergartner, the most important thing to you at any time of the day is to be first. So no matter where we're going or where we're transitioning, if you can be first, you are a king of the world. So we have to remind our kids that you have to use walking. You should see them walking the hall right now, though. They're doing amazing. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways, yeah, walking is part of that. If you're running, you could slip or run into somebody or a
Well,
door can open and hit you.
I've walked through the school and I've seen them doing that, but I didn't know that was I didn't know that was an issue, so I.
Well, it could be, but it isn't. You don't know that it is. All right, thank you, thank you.
So.
And now we have Kelsey Lincoln, who,
Yes.
this is the first time you've heard from Kelsey as the interim principal, like Grand Mountain. So
Yes.
Kelsey, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. So yes, Kelsey Lincoln, interim principal at Grand Mountain Elementary. I'm very excited about this opportunity, so thank you. This is our school board, or our school improvement plan. This is our school board. If you guys didn't know. So our first goal, it is school-wide. It's during the 24-25 school year, GMES will increase its proficiency in English language arts from 42% to 57% of our students meeting standard as measured by the Smarter Balanced Assessment. And in order to meet that goal of ours, a couple of our key actions is our fish tank training for all teachers. Fish tank is our district adopted curriculum for comprehension. So all students or all teachers are getting training on that. And that will be measured by the observation of effective strategies in those English language art instructions that teachers are providing. Also doing a family ELA night, so English language arts nights, and attendance numbers of our family and our students who attend that, and recognizing families as first teacher and honoring that. Like Danny had mentioned, providing a survey for our families at that ELA night so that they can let us know feedback, give us the feedback that they have either gotten enough tools to help support their child at home, or if there's other areas that we can support them in. Our second goal is that during our 24-25 school year, our multilingual students will increase its proficiency in math from 18% to 30% of students meeting standard as measured by a Smarter Balanced Assessment. And the reason we focused on math this year is because there was actually greater growth in our English for our multilingual students last year. And in every language across the world, 2 + 2 = 4. And so just really focusing on that math work so that students really understand and make that growth. That is why we focused on math this year. And areas that we are going to help make that happen is by providing visual supports to support the students with the math content and knowing that math vocabulary. And in order to do that, we have worked with our district instructional coach, Carrie Black, and our multilingual teachers, Alejandro Gutierrez and Candace Robinson. And together, they're going to help train our teachers on different strategies to help support our students that are multilingual or maybe not have English as their first language, so that they are able to explain their thinking by using math vocabulary. Another way is also by providing a family math night for our multilingual families. And again, we'll measure that by attendance numbers of families and students who attend, and also that family survey, so that families are leaving that night with the tools that they need so that they can support our students when they're working at home. And goal number 3, during the 24-25 school year, GMES will increase students attending regularly from 70.4% to 85% of students regularly attending. And that's going to be measured by our daily attendance reporting and cumulative. I want to point out here too, sometimes you'll see in reports that we have 29.6% of students who are chronically absent. We could have done that and said, well, we're going to go from 29.6% chronically absent to 10% of our students chronically absent. However, by increasing the number, it seems more positive, and putting that back on students with a positive mindset that we have 70.4% of our students here. We want 85% of our students here. So just changing that mindset to more positive. And ways that we're going to do that is we have an All Warriors Here, All Warriors on Time campaign. So if you walk through our school, you'll see a giant R on doors, maybe not every door, but most of our doors. And what that is showing you is that there is 90% or more of their students in class that day. And so students, that sometimes a student job, they put it on the outside of the door, shows that they have at least 90% of the students there. And so that's just a celebration. We're going to measure that by daily attendance percentage, and we announce that every morning on our daily bulletin. So we spread that all warriors are here, all warriors on time. Yesterday's percentage was 94.9% of us all here and on time. Another way to do that is by getting our families back in the school, by having those family math and reading nights. Because one of the things about attendance is that there's some hereditary or generational impact. School isn't always fun for everyone. And so some of the parents that maybe school wasn't a positive experience, or it wasn't fun, or they just did not like school, it's not an importance to have their students or their children at school. And so making school fun again, getting them back in the building, that's our goal. with our family math and reading nights. And my startup story of the year is prior to the school year, we have staff cell days, social emotional learning. And we did a word of the year. So new interim principal coming in. It was a new beginning, new leadership changes in our building. Word of the year, some people use that almost like a New Year's resolution. Rather than coming up with a New Year's resolution, people select a word for the year. And so just recognizing that it's a new beginning, we're all gonna have hard days, but when we have those hard days, what is it that's gonna get us through? And so some of the examples that some of our teachers chose, and you'll see this is one teacher over here with her bracelet. They all made bracelets or keychains. You might see them on their lanyards. But perseverance, thankful, gratitude, breathe, like you see in this picture. And then my word was hope. I was very hopeful for this year and I'm excited. And so hope is my word that will get me through all of those hard days and hard times because they'll be there. So sorry, I spoke very quick, but thank you. That was my school improvement plan and our startup story. Any questions?
Question? How is your attendance?
The best in Rochester. Not to brag. Not to brag, no.
I don't know.
This is something that we have been really working on the last few years. And I think I could speak to attendance until I'm blue in the face. That is one thing that, as an assistant principal, you oversee attendance. And that was like my baby as an assistant principal. And I absolutely loved attendance. I loved the interventions. I loved seeing what would work for kids and families to get their kids to school. And one of them was our All Warriors Here, All Warriors on Time. I mean, every 10 days, they get a bag of popcorn to share with their class and a certificate. And that is like the neatest thing ever. And Mrs. Knutson, she shared last year that she coaches a basketball team and kids were talking about the popcorn and just the impact. So something as little as that, it made an impact. So like I said, we had 70.4% of our students here regularly last year. So. Yeah. But everyone in Rochester is doing a wonderful job on the attendance. So.
How was Kelsey spelled?
K-E-L-S-E-Y.
Oh, I got it right. How about
Good job.
That looks very.
All right, thank you so much. No, I'm not.
came on? I'm not trying to. She got best attendance.
I am not, I'm not trying to compete against an elementary and a primary in all attendance.
Sorry.
Because for us, it gets counted by class period. So if a kid leaves for part of the day, there's a portion that they're not there and yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little, I'll talk about that when I get to goal 3. All right, so goal number 1 for us is very similar to last year's goal number 1. We know that we still have work to do at the middle school with our ML students. And so we want to help them to get 60% of them showing typical or better growth on their reading iReady scores from spring as compared to the fall. And last year we ended the year at 53%. So we want to bump that up to 60%. And that's our goal for that. So we have all of our teachers getting a lot of letters training, 6 hours in August, another 4.5 hours by the end of October, and another 1.5 hours in December. So they're learning to help students to work on their reading skills. They're learning to help students to work on vocabulary and understanding and comprehension. And they're getting that. Thank you very much to Joey Beasley and Lona out from other schools. Appreciate the time. So our folks are getting a lot of training in that. We appreciate the opportunity there. iReady Adventure. You know, we had racing the first year. Last year, we had going around the world. And this year, we have a national park theme adventure. It's a quest to complete 10 lessons every single month. And you'll be visiting a different national park each and every month. So our kids are going to be, let's see, rolling through. I'll show you that in a second, actually. I'm going to hold off. Anyway, it's kind of fun, and that works with both reading and math. And so in this case, obviously geared towards reading, and with a special push for our ML students. Also a special push for our students who are 2 or more grade levels behind, quite often our students with IEPs or 504s. So we want to help them to move forward at a greater pace. So there's our iReady adventure. Our first month is Yellowstone. That's where we are now. We're going to be doing Yellowstone through October because it didn't start until about the middle of September. So through October, you get 10 lessons, and we're going to do kind of a fun little theme event at the beginning of November for everybody that gets 10 lessons done. You can see a bunch of the different places around there. I'll rattle them off in a little bit. Next one, goal 2. Again, 60% of our students 2 or more grade levels behind will show typical or better growth on their math iReady scores for the spring benchmark as opposed to the fall. And again, this is most of our students who have IEPs fall into this category. But the reality of it is that last year, 209 of our students fit this group. So 209, it was about 40% of our students, actually just a little over 40% last year. I don't know the answer for this year because our students are still finishing up their benchmark testing. So I'll have a better answer in about a week or so in terms of how many kids, are going to be part of that target focus. But like I said, last year, we're not talking about a small percentage of our students. Roughly 40% of our students were struggling in math at the beginning of the school year. So things that we're going to be doing about that. We have a school-wide major change to our system of supports, and this is going to impact both reading and math. I only stuck it in one place just for your own entertainment, but this is going to be a huge portion of the energy that our school is focusing on for this year, and that is a more rapid response to intervening with students who are struggling in essential standards. So if we have a kid who is struggling before, we might give them a year's worth of extra help in math, a year's worth of extra help in reading. We might cut that off at a quarter or a semester or something like that, or move somebody in at a quarter or a semester if we had space and all of that sort of thing. We're going to be revamping our first period intervention advisory enrichment kind of schedule extremely regularly once we get to the end of the first quarter. Now, we're actually going to start this in the first quarter. We're going to have a 2-week session for the last 2 weeks of the quarter. And then we're going to go in and change kids every 3, 6, or 9 weeks, depending on how much help they might need in a particular essential standard. And that's going to be based on maybe how they did in iReady, but also how they're doing in common formative assessments that are based on those essential standards. So if we have a student who's struggling in writing and there's an essential standard based on writing from our language arts folks, they're going to move within 3 to 6 weeks into that help class. It might actually be even sooner than that. It might be a week or two, but it's not going to be 12 weeks from now. We're going to find a spot for them 18 weeks from now, or you know what, next year when there's a space, we're going to put that. No, we're going to be teachers are going to have their schedules for first period revamped every 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, once we get to the end of the quarter. That is going to take a lot of work for our folks. It's going to take a lot of that mental energy for our folks. It's going to be a big darn deal. That's why it's up there in big darn letters. Okay. So that's going to be a huge one. And again, the iReady adventure targeting that you see there. Goal 3, 72% of RMS students will achieve regular attendance by May. No more than 28% chronically absent. That is an improvement of about 5 or 6% for us against last year. We had about a 4% increase last year. We want to make it about a 5 or 6% increase this year. We're doing a few different things related to that. One, and by the way, I stole this from Grand Mound. Yeah, the first part, the attendance track daily, totally stole that from Grand Mound last year. Loved what they were doing. Had my my second counselor person doing that last year. I'm doing it for our building this year, tracking it every single day by grade level. I will be able to tell you every day right now. I get something that gets sent to me through cumulative for 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and total every day about 20 minutes after school is out, what our attendance was for that day broken down. So I can rattle that off for you. Today, it was about 93.5% for our sixth graders. It was about 94.5% for our seventh graders, and it was about 89.7 or so for our eighth graders today. And that's for the whole day. So if you missed a period, it counts partially against that. So, and then we do some celebrations and stuff with them at lunchtime if they reached a certain level. Tomorrow, both the sixth and the seventh graders will get some goodies by random drawing at lunch. But pretty soon, we're going to be starting a fantasy football style class competition. Stole this from the high school that they did kind of last year. So good ideas all over the place. So we're going to have our first period classes going up against each other to see who beats who for a certain week. And after about 6 weeks, we'll turn it into playoffs. And who beats who in the playoffs? If you've gotten the certain, we went 5-1. All right, we made the playoffs. And so we're going to be doing that. I think that fun, not mean, style positive class competitions can generate some excitement and we can have some fun. We also want to make sure that every one of our kids is known decently by at least one adult. That every one of my kids, that we can say that at least they have had a good connection. I don't mean, oh yeah, I know that kid, but I know that kid by name. I can talk to you about their family. I can talk to you about that kid's interests. I can tell you who their friends are. I can tell you how their grades are, not just in my class, but in other classes. We want all of our kids to be known by at least one adult in the building. And we want the kids to feel that. We want them to feel like they belong in our school. So that is another big one that we are doing. So we did a little VR fun time at the fitness room last week. We got some goodie snacks. I told you the kids would be potentially getting some little random drawing goodie snacks. So those are some of the things that they can get. No, you're not eligible. But it'll be a fun time, but you're eligible to come over and hand them out if one day you want to do that. Next one. Do I have another one? Yeah, I thought I did. So my startup story, the cell phone use being down. So we've said we'll start, you walk into the building until the end of the school day. We shouldn't see your cell phones. We know phone use is really bad for kids. It's rampant. It's too much. It's got just too many. More and more issues have been coming around and more studies have shown that this is a very significant issue. And we can't just sit on our try to help with that mental health issue. So cell phones being out for that amount of time, we thought, okay, this is going to be tough. And do a lot of with parents. We've got 540 or so kids. Give me 5% of the parents being really angry about that. I'm getting 25 phone calls. That's a lot. Give me 5% of my kids being sideways about this. I'm going to use my phone. I don't care. My mom says, whatever. Okay. Now we're dealing with kids every single day significantly regarding cell phones. We have had 5 significant issues so far with cell phone use for the year so far. I'll take it in a heartbeat. I've had nobody that we've had to contact their parent and say, come get your kid's cell phone because this is their 3rd offense. Well, those issues, they're responding well to it. And we love it. I thought that was something you guys might like to hear.
I'm sorry. It's 5, like you've caught 5 kids with their phones?
Yeah.
5 kids have been complaining about it. So.
Thank you. 5 kids with their phones have had issues having their phones out. Now, I think there's probably a few more than that. I'm not trying to say that there's every kid we catch every single time. I'm not crazy. Pretty darn good. So, because we're watching for it. If I see a phone out, get it back to you. I have had a parent phone call complaint about the cell phone. Just one. There you go.
All good to me. Making big strides.
So that was my notes. Before you even got to that, that was one of my notes that I was going to ask you was about cell phones.
I was reading your mind.
And the lunch interaction.
Yeah.
Is that
I will tell you, our lunchrooms are louder than they have been in years. So that's just the reality of it. And it is a great loud. It is, you know, when you first hear it, it's a little bit annoying. You know, I've been used to a lot quieter of a lunchroom. I gotta be honest with you. But it doesn't take more than a few seconds for you to go, oh, wait a minute, this is good. This is good. I mean, literally a few seconds for you to look around and go, this is good. I will take this. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I'll take it.
So
Yeah.
I had a question and I started writing it and then it kind of, went in one ear and out the other.
I said something cool and took you in a different direction.
Yeah, but was the transition period from fifth grade to sixth grade, and it had something to do with the iReady. Is there iReady from? You can take everything from fifth grade, right? And you know what happened in the fifth grade for a sixth grader that came up.
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
And is there and here's where I can't remember exactly how it was, but is there stumbling blocks when they transition from the fifth to the sixth grade?
So there's stumbling blocks every year in the
Yeah.
summertime. And it's not fifth grade to sixth grade, it's sixth grade to seventh grade, it's seventh grade to eighth grade. We know that there is a bit of a summer slide for many of our students across the board. For many of our students, this is where they get a lot of things. This is where they get their reading. This is where they get their interaction with their peers. This is where they get 2 meals a day. But in the summertime, they don't get any of those things sometimes. And so there is a slide that happens in the summertime for many of our kids. Studied this since before I was an educator. And yeah, so we see that. It's one of the reasons why we do an assessment in the spring. Fifth graders did an assessment in the spring. We still do another assessment in the fall. So,
Okay.
yep.
Because one of the things that popped up in my head was like, well, if we're having problems with kids, we've set the standard high, which is not bad. I'm wondering what the standard was whenever I was in high school. Or excuse me, in
Cell phones weren't a standard.
Yeah, exactly. In elementary school, yeah, was I meeting would I have met the standards that we had when I was in school?
Should we talk about that? Because it's that time of year. Oh, I'm not sure your time back. You should. Because I saved some time.
Where do I?
So, that's yours.
Oh.
Your Highness, I gave you one set special. So once again. Sorry. So once again, I compile the data for our neighbors. How did we do against our neighbors in reading and math, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, science at the eighth grade level? And this is how we did against our neighbors and against the state. One of my big mantras for our folks is beat the state. I want to beat the state average in every single test. Out of 7 of the state tests. And you can see where we did in the rank. Right now, you've got math across the top, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. You've got reading next, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. You've got science in the lower right. You've got how their school districts in the lower left corner. We did not do so well against Olympia, darn it. We did better against Tumwater than we have in many years. And we beat every other group. So we look at how we did against the state average as another big darn deal. But one of the in the gaps, you see where it says cohort plus minus. And that is how that group of kids did versus the year prior. So let's take a look right now at the middle left column. That is the sixth grade ELA score, right? And you can see if you look at the bottom of that column that we lost to the state by 2. It's one of the 2 that we didn't beat the state in. But you can also see that those kids grew against the state by over 8. So they were about 10% below the state last year, a year ago, in 2023.
Yeah.
But in 2024, instead of being down 10% against the state, they were only down 2% against the state. So no, we didn't beat the state. Darn it. However, we grew by 8 points against the state. That is a very good number. we've got some work to do at seventh grade language arts. Questions about this? Give them later, you can email me.
Always have questions.
Set questions.
Will, I have a question for you. You mentioned before about moving the children sooner into interventions or support.
Yes.
Which I think sounds great, but how are you gonna have enough capacity to do that? What about the kids that aren't done getting what they need? Are they gonna be pushed out in order for the other kids to get in, or?
That's a great question. So there's a couple of different ways that we're going to handle that. So one is to create more capacity. So if we have to have more intervention classes in certain areas that meet certain standards, because those classes are going to target specific standards. So if we have to have more classes, we'll create more of those classes. Take a look at someone. Okay, do you think you can fix this in 6 morning sessions? So 2 or 3 weeks? Yes, great. That's a group of 30 kids, 25 kids, whatever. Do you think that these kids are probably going to need 6 to 9 weeks? That might be a quarter-long class for those kids. Same base standard that they're working on, but some that we think, we think that we just a little bit of work with these folks, we're going to get them over the top, non-issue, they're going to roll into something else. Maybe that's a different kind of enrichment class. Maybe it's a different intervention class, but whatever, they're going to roll into something else. These kids need a little more work. So that is part of our plan. And if a kid in the 3-week one isn't quite making it after the that they need, we'll roll them into the 9-week class and we'll move along. We're going to have the ability to move kids easily that way. I shouldn't say easily, it's going to be a bit of work, but we're going to do it.
It sounds complicated.
You're also looking for retired volunteers.
Got all that time on your hand.
An ad?
I can get a background check done in about 5 minutes.
Lecture is awesome.
I'm good.
Right now. Anybody else?
I have a question about, do you guys have lockers still? I can't remember.
We have lockers for our PE students and our athletes. We do not have lockers on a day-to-day basis for our kids going from class to class.
Okay, the high school eliminated their lockers too, right? Right.
I'm gonna let them answer.
Oh, okay. So,
You don't have regular lockers anymore.
We do have this. Most students that use lockers, like I have a student who rides a bike to school every day, so she throws her bike gear in there, but I would say there's probably 10 or 15 kids out of 639 that use the locker.
okay.
I'd like to piggyback on that because I saw a complaint, somebody was complaining.
Sure.
Too, yeah.
Yeah,
I think we saw the same
We
one.
saw the same one. They were making a comment about they need to get these lockers open or something along those lines.
and if they just call me, we'll probably be able to work that out really easily.
I'm sure.
I'll tell you, I have a couple of kids that have carried books that kind of look almost dictionary-like, because that's their book that they want to carry as their own personal book. I have multiple students. This is an interesting one. I have multiple students that are carrying water bottles that I swear have to hold 32 ounces. My wife is a kindergarten teacher, and she was talking to me the other day about the fact that 2 of her kids don't have water bottles in class now. But all of the rest of her students are carrying a water bottle to class now. It's a thing. It's a thing. These are kindergartners. But yeah, we have lots of kids that carry water bottles, and you look and they're carrying, I'm like, you can get water in so many different places in our building to refill that, and good water. We have good water here. So it's not, and they're carrying 5 pounds of water. So, yeah, but we can have that conversation, because here's the thing. We don't have a history book that kids have to carry that's this thick anymore. So we'll go back to your childhood.
Yeah.
We don't have a math book that's this thick. Our math book is about this thick that they have to carry. They don't carry a science book. So when you start talking about the actual amount of weight that they have to carry with a backpack and everything, it's significantly under 15 pounds. And sure, they might have a lunch in there. You're right. They might have a lunch, but we're not, and musical instruments, those go to the music class and get stored. So when I weighed it out last year, and I think it's actually a little bit smaller this year, but when I weighed it out last year, like the stuff they needed to carry, it was in the 10-pound neighborhood. And like for our 6th graders, half of them are going from me to the flag to their next class. Seriously. You don't want to move way down there to your locker and then back to the flag to your next class. Just quit class, set your bag down.
Makes sense to me.
But that's what I'm here for. 3 minutes of passing time. We are not having tardy issues.
The passing time you were talking about, 3 minutes?
We have 3 minute passing times. We don't have tardy issues. You know, and the reality is, and we tell the kids and the staff, we gotta be letting kids use the restroom. So we gotta be letting kids use the restroom. But the reality of it is, you've been in our schools, we've got 3 stalls and 3 minutes. And 180 kids, fine, divide that in half. So 90 girls that want to go use the restroom with 3 stalls, I could give you a 10-minute passing. So 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute doesn't really matter. Because, you know, we're gonna need to give them some time during class. They're gonna need it, and that's okay. Teachers, they're gonna need it, that's okay. If it becomes an issue, call the parent. Hey, your kid's out of my class every day, go to the bathroom. Yeah, that's pretty normal. They just had breakfast an hour before, now they gotta go to the bathroom. There you go. But, yeah.
I'm jealous because our TK kids from TK to the gym for lunch. It's like a mile. Before.
4 miles? Did they get like a stamp? Did they get like a cross-country letter?
They're closing the rings. They can't run.
Not running. All right, Kevin.
Hey.
Before we lose it all.
Good evening. Nice to be back for a second year. It's nice to be returning letterman finally. Like everyone else, we have a school-wide goal. We're really proud. I was kind of really surprised when I saw our scores come back because, you know, they have the writing pieces and so they have to do the evaluation. We came back at 67%, which was an 11-point increase over last year's ELA score. And we're 1 point above the state, but we're not stopping there. We're going to keep going up. And so our goal is to be a 10% increase when we look at our 9th grade iReady scores from fall to spring. And then when our 10th graders take the SBA in the spring, we're looking to see, so we would like to be pushing 80% this spring when our students take the SBA. Next slide. So obviously we did a lot of work last year. We set a strong foundation and that paid some dividends. But we're adding some more to it. I don't know if you ever heard of this, but it's called the Freyer model. And it's 4 quadrants and you have a concept in the middle. And it helps our students see what it is, what it isn't, and lets them do it. You can put your own definition in there and you can draw it, you can write it. But it's a way that helps our kids improve vocabulary, develop critical thinking, and deepens their understanding of concepts. And so as a staff, we're using this, everything we're talking about here, everybody does. It's not just our ELA classes, everybody, everything we did last year, everyone did, and everything we're doing this year, everybody does. And that's really important, is to see that a lot during the day from different places. A lot of things you're gonna see is something we're doing, we're really striving to do school-wide, so that we help our students find success and consistency. We started today doing some reading stuff in our try. We're working on developing some core reading strategies that every teacher will use. Today, our topic was close reading. And this is something where you're looking at an informational text and one time you're reading it and you're pulling out words you don't know. The next time you're looking at it, you're looking for concepts. You know, what's the story telling you? And so what you do is you read it 3, 4, or 5 times, but you're looking at it in different ways. And that helps the student access, because Dr. Bethman gave us a number when we were here for our admin council at the beginning. And I don't know, is that high school students it's 4 minutes, or is that all students? Sure.
Yeah,
But
I don't remember who it was now.
the essence of the story is kids are reading 4 minutes out of every hour of instruction. Think about that for a second. 4 minutes out of an hour is done reading on average in a classroom. And yet it's one of the main things we're doing, this is what we're getting measured by. And and Heather, the principal said something really awesome. She goes, we have such a great staff. Concern our kids accessing content that we go out of our way to provide that to them, but we're not giving them the richness of the reading and developing those skills, because those are skills that they need for the rest of their life to be successful in whatever endeavor they pursue. So that's really important that they develop that reading, not only reading, but comprehend it and then take it and use it for something outside of that. It's not just knowing what you're reading, but what does that apply to and how do you use it? So that's our emphasis there. And then also using student structure talk is kind of, we started using a little bit last year, but we weren't really formal in it. We are doing student structure. Another pulls the literacy in, and that's where the students are sitting and they start to have the conversations and they're using the vocabulary that they're learning. They're pulling the materials, and so they're kind of getting affirmation, and then sometimes other students help them clarify their understanding. And so these are really important to that structure. And our measures, I'm going to the next slide. I put pictures in there, so I want. These are obviously for ninth grade, our spring ready versus, and then our 10th grade SBA. Spirit Day today, Caitlin was talking about whiteout. A couple of whiteout girls. I got my white on. Mr. Mortensen teaching chemistry. They were doing actually developing problems and with the amount of ice in an iceberg and how you calculate that. And so they had to figure out how to develop their own formulas, how they were going to get there. Okay, next slide. So when we were, so that showed up, I just made up our SIP goals because I didn't have any time with my staff. I showed up and we had to get going. Just for us as a district, so we kept inside of literacy. But we stopped and looked at our data and we noticed that wasn't performing at the school average was our students with disabilities. And so last year, 25% of them were proficient on the SB and want to increase that number. And so we're going through and go ahead and go to the next slide, please. And so we're trying to put the skills awesome about all these things we're doing, directed at a specific student group, but it actually provides access for all the kids because you're doing it for everybody, but we're doing targeted actions based on those students. And so that's what makes it so powerful. So these are some of the things that we're going to do with this group. Modeling, really important to model what you want to see. And so helping the kids see and understand that process. And when you walk them through and you say, this is what it looks like, this is how we do it. We're trying to improve our teacher clarity. That's one of our emphasis that's been we've been emphasizing since the first time the teachers came back is clarity is if you know who John Hattie is, that's the most powerful tool for leveraging student learning. It's more that you can get double the growth out of kids. And teachers are very clear about what they're doing and how they're doing it. Then students will perform better. And so modeling, and then obviously scaffolding may not possess the skills that they need. Providing supports there to help them make those connections. And that's like with the close reading, that gives them several different shots at something. And so building those scaffoldings to support them, to help them develop the growth they need to get where they want to go. We're a little behind the middle school, but we're the same interventions inside of our advisory period. And built inside of that is we're going to use our special ed teachers in that CSR period to specific groups of kids. And so they'll rotate through in 3 or 4 week sections. We're going to kind of watch the middle school and see what's really working well for them. And we're going to try and mirror them a little bit. But the idea being, give these kids some specialized support. Additionally, a lot of these students have ProLab, which is an extra class where they have time to catch up and get support from their teachers to stay on track for those big actions. And same measures, we're going to be looking at iReady for 9th graders and SBA for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders because we have students, if they don't pass, they continue to take the test until we get them passed. So the idea is hopefully by the time we get them graduated, they will have passed that instead of having to use a pathway. More pictures. Lunch today, they were doing karaoke. Loved it. They had a really good time. That's our Mr. Jeski's This was bottom right class is Miss Severino's entrepreneurship and business marketing class. Those are the kids. She's our new. We open here second semester. So those this is very wordy. It's about. We saw that our students' decision making was an area of weakness that we could improve upon. And so over the summer, I read Eric Jensen's Teaching with Poverty and Equity in Mind, and then executive for every classroom, creating safe and predictable learning environments. So what we've done, there's a lot of when you make every class kind of look the same at the beginning and the end, you take away the unpredictability. Instead of having to navigate 7 different classes, they all kind of have the same talking, you know. A lot of our kids come trauma-informed lens on what you're doing by providing predictable, safe learning environments. Our students feel more secure, and now the decision then we can focus on content and help them start developing those skills inside of all of that. And our go ahead and go to the next picture. Part of the measure, we're like high school, we're looking at our referral. Basically, by reducing the number of referrals, which is a disruption of class, we're now going to be able to focus on learning and being safe and supported. So we've got the predictable entry and exit routines for classes. I spoke about teacher clarity already. Every class you walk into, you will see a learning criteria agenda with tasks. And that was, we made that decision together as a staff when we first returned, and that giving them the clarity, they know what's expected of them, what we're learning today, how I know I learned it. And then the most important part is at the end, we go back and check, did we get where we're supposed to be? So a teacher can do an informal check but that provides feedback on how they're doing. And additionally, we're adding quarterly grade level meetings with the students, with myself and Ms. Brooks. We're going to lay out what it looks like, and we're going to problem solve. We're going to use this as a connection to students so that they can provide feedback about how they're experiencing school at Rochester High School. Go ahead and go to the next one so we can get our pictures up. And so that's really important. One thing you'll notice, if you look at all the slides in the upper right, you'll see it says we reinstituted our PBIS program, which is positive behavior interventions and supports. And so our acronym is PRIDE. So all of our perspectives have integrity, are determined, and are engaged. And every Friday, when we go into our shout out at the end of our PLCs, every teacher gets a card, and we have all the students' names printed out, and teacher picks a student and writes a card and says something about one of the aspects of Warrior Pride and what they saw in them this week. And then on Monday, we distribute those cards to those kids during advisory, so they get from one of their teachers, and every kid will get recognized in the first semester, and then every kid recognized. We just got our first cards out this week, and it's a game changer for a lot of kids getting that positive feedback. And so this is my startup story. We come back, teachers come back, and my ASL teacher says, I got married and my wife can't come over here, so I'm moving to Oregon. And if you know ASL, that's kind of a tough niche to fill on a heartbeat's notice. And Dean Roberts fell out of the sky to him. He teaching for about 18 years. And what's unique about Dean is he's deaf. He's grown up. And he grew up in the world where before there was sign language where you had to learn to communicate. So he's figured he lived that world. And then when he was 14, he got to go to an ASL school, and the culture shock for him because the people at the ASL school looked at him funny because he didn't know sign language. And so he's experienced not only from the hearing world, but in the non-hearing world, he encountered that, and sharing his experience with the kids and watching them and see someone who's living that life and works with the kids. They love the class. it's kind of interesting as the leader of the school is you don't think of all the ways that someone who has challenges needs assistance. I gotta have an interpreter for him for staff meetings. I gotta have an interpreter for PLC. I have to have an interpreter for try today. And this week I looked at Laura and I said, oh, we need an interpreter for all of those conferences. But it's awesome because it's really opening, I think it's powerful for our students to see that model in their classroom, walking the path and teaching them. So that's our startup story.
That is a good one. Are we budgeted for a interpreter?
We have now.
Yeah.
Kevin Wilson is looking at his budget because he's CTE. I said, he's all yours, Kevin.
I have some while they're thinking. So when you one of your slides that showed I think you said a physics teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So how are the we always talk about, ELA, all that. How are they measured? Do they have?
So in their junior year, they take the science exam, but it's kind of not a fair measure because all of our students that are not in the building because they're running start don't test. They're not there for the test. And so it's not a real fair measure because, a third of your population is not there to take the test. So I believe we were at 40% was the number that pops into my head when I'm thinking of our test. And so you have to kind of look at that and try and figure out, well, all these kids that are running start, how many of them would have performed? And so the measure is kind of, because you're not testing all of your kids, it's just a significant portion who have chosen not to leave the building. And so, and Justin and Jennifer could probably address that on a way better level than I could.
Yeah, 'cause I was curious when that slide popped up, how do we, with these advanced, I just want to lump them all into one thing, these advanced classes, because not every kid takes chemistry, not every kid physics.
They all do. They all take physics
well,
and chemistry now.
okay.
And biology. Those.
Yeah, about biology, I
Yeah,
guess.
so physics is a freshman class, chemistry is junior, and then, or sophomore, excuse me, and then biology is junior.
You'd be in trouble.
No, I did not. Obviously, I did not meet the standards for them. So anyway, I got standards written right there. So, cell phones. I'm not gonna ask you if you have any problem with cell phone, but are you having any pushback from the teachers on the use of cell phones?
So I'll give you a 30-second story because I know these guys are looking at me saying, shut up already, Kevin. This is we didn't want to take them all away immediately because our students in 4 years are going out into the workforce, a lot of them, or they're getting out into the world and they need to be able to navigate when do you use your phone, when do you not use your phone. And so our rule is during instruction time. So as soon as class starts until it ends, first 2 weeks, kids struggle. But like Mr. Moss, we've yet to have a kid hit a third. So basically what happens if you see a cell phone, take that down to the office. It's not a referral. We track everything in the office. They bring the phone down. We hold the phone for 24 hours. So if you get it taken away the rest of the day, you come to the end of the day, pick up your phone. When you come back in the morning, you have to turn your phone back in and you don't get it back till lunch. Or if you get it taken away after lunch, you can't get it back till the end of the day, the next day. And I asked Ms. Schweitzer this morning, and I said, how are we doing? And I said, are we seeing through? Yeah, call me about a cell phone issue. And so we did a really, I canvassed since last, I started telling parents, hey, this is coming. And when I came back in August, I said, hey, this is coming. Before school started, I said, hey, this is here. We're doing this now. And I mentioned it again in the newsletter I sent out yesterday. I'm trying to work on communication. I was okay last year. I need to be better. I'm getting that information out to families and telling them what we're doing and how we're doing it. But the kids understand it. Ask Kaylin, do you have a problem with your phone? Most kids don't have an issue and they know if they see it, the teacher just says, take your phone to the office. I'll walk into a classroom like we had a sub in our art class last week and a kid was like this and had his phone. I just walked by and said, take it down to the office. And so, and the other part of this is it's instructional time is from bell to bell. So when you're going to bathroom, you're not supposed to be on your phone. So if I see a kid not on the phone, go to the office. And it's not a discussion. They don't argue. They just know they got caught and they move on. And so the idea is they're learning responsible use of cell phones. And so when they get a job and their phone buzzes, they know not to look at their phone because they're working, because you're being paid to work, not to look at your phone. So we're trying to develop that responsibility skill instead of just saying no phones, figure it out when you get to be an adult. And so and I feel like we're doing well. I feel okay with on the path we're on. The kids seem to be responding pretty well to it.
Good.
Well, do you seem to notice extended bathroom breaks at all with cell phones where they're not out until they're in their stall or?
Well, to be honest, we cut our security guard last year because he left and we just didn't fill the position. And so, you know, those desks that move up and down that a lot of our classrooms have. We put a couple, one for Miss Brooks and one for myself. And we work out in the hallway 2, 3, 4 periods a day. So they know we're out there. And so, you know, I see a kid and we have our electronic hall passes on there. So I can see when a kid left class, it'll flash up a message. This kid's been out 7 minutes. So now I go looking in the bathroom because she's down. She can't go in the boys at the other end. So I'll go in my bathroom out there. I'll walk down to the other. I'll just roll my table down with me, go into the bathroom and say, "Hey, Johnny, are you in here?" Because the pass says you've been in here for 7 minutes. Are you all right? Did you fall in? And so the kids know, we can know how long they. But it's effective. It's really effective.
I like it.
Wow.
I like it.
Pretty incredible you're doing that. It's working out the bathroom part, but
Well, there's a lot of stuff, you know, answering emails and trying to be on top of stuff. Let her do it out. You know, I try not to be in the office too much because we need to be out and we need to be present because when kids know you're there, they will not do stuff. And when you're not there, they will do stuff. And so I really think they'll behave.
Know somebody's always watching.
That's what I tell them. Watch Monsters Inc. Watching. We're always watching.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
See the engagement that way. One other question, probably for all the principals. How are things working with the free lunch program? Are we having trouble with kids that don't have lunch or, you know, school year just started?
The one thing that because I'm there next to I watch the walking out the door through our lunch line. So I stand there and I kind of make sure the kids go through the lunch line. We have students that will, the applications being, because every year have to redo the process. And they're like, I was free lunch last year, what happened? And so what happens is once they get the application process, even if they have a balance for this year, it'll knock it away. And that's been the biggest thing. And I have several kids that walked up, you know, because they said with that I get to go to the dance, right? So our kids are starting to learn the benefit for them because it's not just a free lunch for us. It's more full featured than it is at the lower levels because of all the different things that occur, how much ASB and so they get access to a lot of things. And so we're striving, you know, I told my staff, I said, we got to get up about 50% for 3 years because all these guys are getting money for a free teacher that we don't get because we haven't been about 50% for 3 years. So last year was our first year. And so this year and next year we get about 50%, then we'll be able, because I would love to have one more teacher.
Fun.
Additional fun.
Your budget.
I want a teacher.
High powered funds.
I have a question. So the program that you have where they're working on all the things that the student,
Guys, we do that third period. They do it first period.
Okay.
Yeah.
where did you model that from? I mean, did you guys just come up with it out of the sky or did?
That was
you actually-
probably, was that before you even got there? Or was it while you were there? That's been there for a while. It's been there.
It's been there.
10, 12, 15 years.
So this is not a new program?
No.
Oh.
We're trying to leverage the assistance that kids need. There's a lot of kids that
Makes a lot
need
of
some
sense.
assistance. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought maybe this was something new and upcoming.
No, we're just.
The way it's been used.
Different than how it used to be.
And we have, Neil, to answer your question, at RPS, all of our kids get free lunch. And it's a lot of our kids are accessing it at breakfast every morning. So many issues. Getting the meal.
Younger kiddos, I want to make sure that,
Yeah, we're feeding them every day. They come
with the
back.
families and.
For seconds and thirds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing too, is some of the kids are like, I'm still hungry. Head up to this salad bar and they can get seconds on applesauce or more oranges or more. Yeah.
They're eating.
But-
Yeah.
I just want to make sure they have that opportunity to have that extra energy to study and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Feel hangry.
wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Thank
We
you.
never turn a kid away from a meal.
Nope.
Any kid that goes
Yep.
through the line can get a meal, whether they have a balance, whether they're free or reduced. Any kid that wants a meal gets a meal.
Do they get a meal instead of a cheese?
It's not that.
Gone now.
Yes.
We're no longer doing that that's great.
I miss the cheese sandwiches.
Well, you want one, but after a couple dozen of them, they're not quite so friendly.
Okay. Is it, we're going to the next, oh, okay, yep, there we go. Isolation, oh, wait.
All right.
Be here? Want to be here?
That is what weird, whatever the what. Yeah.
Say, we don't need you here.
Needed here.
We're not needed.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
you, everyone.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Wow.
I think so.
Yeah, let's do it.
Any follow up?
Some of the other end of the round.
I mean,
Used to be over there. Mike's.
taking a break.
Oh.
He's at my.
All right, we are back on.
All right.
Okay, we're all back. Got everybody? All right.
So we have a report on isolation and restraint. Laura's gonna tell you about the data and she's gonna real quickly just tell you a little bit about isolation restraint and how we adhere to the laws.
They're not. And talk about them. What an amazing group of principals we have. That was so cool and so heartwarming to hear all the work that's happening in the buildings. It's pretty cool. So I am going to talk about isolation and restraint. Danny talked a little bit about the RREI grant, reducing restraint and limiting isolation, which I will speak to a little bit this evening. But I just want to talk about kind of the isolation and restraint story. RCW talks about that the only time that we should restrain or isolate a student is if there is an imminent likelihood of serious harm. And I'm not going to go into all the details of that, but there's definition as to what that is. It's more, if somebody gets shoved or something like that, we're looking at imminent likelihood of serious harm. We don't want to be putting hands on kids. We don't want to be putting kids related error, unless they're so been trained in the 5 trauma-informed portion of the training. They didn't get the training where and those types of things if a student is overly active, but they received the portion of the good chunk of teachers at the primary and elementary school. We also have 9 special education teachers that are fully trained with the full 8 hours. And we have our assistant principals and all our AD are fully trained. I'm fully trained, and I didn't put down our paraeducators. I don't know why I don't have those numbers there, but all of our special education paraeducators and quite a few of our other paraeducators are also fully UPARO trained. So that is one. The next is the UW Harris. Funding to work with them, and they're coming in, as Danny said, starting tomorrow. They're going to come and work with our special ed folks on how to struggles or helping to set up capacity for kiddos to be more successful. Along with that, one of the things that we really want to make sure we do is our primary school special ed department has carried a heavy load the last few years because the students have really struggled with regulation. And so we want to make sure our teachers this year are set up for success and have all the supports they need. So that was a huge area of focus for us when we knew we had this grant money coming in. Along with that, and I know Danny mentioned this as well, we have 12 hours of training for families. That's that noon training that she was talking about, where families can join that and be able to ask questions and talk about things. We're not there. We want them to feel safe to do that. We've even asked, oh, could it be recorded or could we find out? And the answer is no. And that's right. That's the right answer, because we want to know, because we want to support, but it's right for us to not be there because we want families to be able to ask the hard questions and be able to work through things without feeling like somebody's watching them. We will also have 12 hours of training for school staff, and that'll be focused on the primary school. We're going to invite some other people. I saw Kelsey look at me earlier when we were talking about it. And those trainings will be, it's going to be 20 minutes of like a case study, and then there's going to be question answer. What's going on? I'm having this situation. How do we handle it? What do we do with that panel of experts? Just like as well. We've also used focus, some of the funding on our registered behavior tech training. Jessica Whitehead, who's our board certified behavior analyst, has trained folks to become registered behavior techs, so they have additional skills to work with kiddos. I love special ed. Everything is an acronym, so I'm trying really hard to like give the whole words. And then purposeful play. We've really worked on some sensory things and some activities that kiddos can do to help them to be regulated and not regulated. And this is, I hate to say that we had one incident of isolation last year, and 11 of restraint last year. I want to see 0. But I know restraint and eliminating isolation, there are times when a student might be restrained. And I'm going to tell you what those times were last year. It's when a kiddo was running towards James Road. And we're going to stop that kiddo from running into James Road. That's 90% of the situation. We had one student that was isolated, and we are working on having that be a 0 this year. And so what I want you to see on here is the reason we really knew how important this work was, is we get decreases. And if we had the decreases, that means our numbers were higher before, and we don't want them to ever be higher again. We want them to continue to decrease. One of the big ones here is 89% decrease in staff. We want to make sure our staff is safe. 97% decrease in isolation, 68% decrease in restraint, and 100% decrease in student injuries. But I will put a note there. that the previous year we had student injuries. All of the student injuries were self-injurious behavior, where either they were moving around so much that they hit themselves and then we had a student would bite themselves. So it was never a staff member that was hurting a child. But last year we had none of those injuries because we're continuing to learn ways to help them if they are trying to hurt themselves. That's the end. Any questions? Yes, please.
Yes. How does this program work with our bus service, with our first student?
So that's an excellent question.
Hey, I mean, we have isolation here at school before we get to the parent. And do we just send the kid back on the bus where they could still have some issues?
So if we have a student who is not regulated, we work to get them back to a regulated state, whether or not they were restrained, but we have many students that are not regulated that aren't being restrained or isolated. We have other ways we work through that with them. If they are still escalated when it's time to go home, there'll be a call to parent. Your kiddo is not able to take the bus right now, and so we work on a different way to get the kiddo home. We're not going to put a student on a bus who's not safe to be on the bus. But that being said, there are cases where kiddos get very dysregulated on the bus, and with our BCA, board certified behavior analyst, is actually planning for the week of October to work with our bus drivers. So, and we're doing that 4 times a year to make sure, and we did it last spring, and all the drivers could ask questions, talk about certain kids, and also have general training.
All the new kids, they're all coming to school for the first time or two, or coming back after summer. And
Yep.
you got a lot of young kids and they're very stimulated. And I think with the older ones, do the older kids get to have their cell phones on the buses?
I don't think they do. I
Have them out taking pictures and doing that type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, because there's been some
Concerns.
concerns about how they're being used.
Well, like I said, things that kids are stimulated by when they're on the bus and they're bored, they're on the bus for an extended amount of time. What is our longest run of bus?
And get in a fight, and that's 2 different things going on, so the response to that might look different somehow. So if you have students who are acting out aggressively, that we're really working on how to structure their environment and help them be more successful. We're doing very similar things as we are at the primary and elementary. But what we found is in the last few years, the kiddos that are having the biggest struggles have been our littles. So that has been our focus area with the hope to build capacity for when these kiddos reach middle school and high school. But we also are working with kiddos at those levels because we definitely have kiddos that are struggling at the secondary level as well.
And some of the staff has had some training then.
Yes. Yep. Continue to.
Laura, thank you for this. There's still a few numbers. I know you want 0, but I want to make sure the teachers and staff feel empowered. road or things of that nature, obviously.
And we've really had some serious conversations about when it's appropriate, and that's why the grant is reduced. There might be times where we're going to restrain a child, and it's 100% if it's imminent likelihood of serious harm. James Road is not, I mean, go around that corner, you know, it's, you got people coming 50 miles an hour around that corner. That's not safe for a kid. We're going to keep to the road. Or if we have a student significantly hurt themselves, we're going to stop it. Or if they could significantly hurt someone else, we're going to stop it. But the idea is to really continue to build the skill, alternative ways to change that behavior, even in the middle of it.
The other thing I'd say is, I can appreciate what families might need to talk to the specialists, lunch hour things, that's great. And staff having time too. I do think your staff and the school staff and the parents, that's never enough out.
Yes.
It seems like some parents would volunteer for that, say, why don't we work together on it?
One of the things it did give us is that, like, if there are trends or things like that, that we should be thinking about as a staff, that there might be some parent concerns that they're seeing trends with. Those will be things that we can look at and address. We definitely collaborate with us, but we also want them to have that opportunity to be able to talk through things. And some of it, I sometimes, from my own experience with Blaze, where I'll go to a meeting, I'm just like, oh, I know what his behavior's been, and I feel like I'm, you know, he's acting, and some of it, we want them to be able to talk about things in a safe environment where they can work through some of that and feel empowered themselves. So.
Thank you.
I do want Laura to share her celebration.
Can I?
Yes, you can.
So.
So much good work with our kids here, but she has a special young man at home that she's taking care of.
Blaze has been our foster kiddo a year. This morning we adopted him.
Oh,
I'm gonna go sit down now.
Thanks for all you're doing.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Well, I'm boring.
Yeah, all you have is numbers.
Those are good numbers. Bad numbers.
So this is a report on our July financial. We're still in July. At the end of July, our fiscal year 0.67% of the year complete. Our revenues were at 94 and our expenditures are at 93%. But that's going to correct itself because if you remember at the end of August, we did a budget extension. So that will reflect in August. The more details. So at the end of July, the loan was paid off and our fund balance was at 1.4 million. Broke it down a little further. We had about 324 restricted for carryover. 9 local sub fund and about 550 committed to our fund balance policy. Our enrollment count of the 4th day of school in September. We were able to finish that up and clean it up today. So my crystal ball for 11th graders. We did 2,035 students and we are right now as of September at 2,046. So 8 over budget. That's a good thing. But the 11th graders, I do want to point out at the end of last year's 10th graders, we had 100 at 118. And it's not like they fell off the face of this earth. They're doing new mark. Running start, we don't have a report until October. Heart started the year strong at 31.86 and they typically grow. So they'll likely reach budget capacity. Our sped count was at 319 and we had 5 students participating in the dropout re-engagement program through Gravity.
5.
Mhm. Any number is a good one there.
All right, and I just have a few things tonight. I knew we were gonna have a lot of other reports to listen to. Just, we talked about this last time back coming, and we had it, and it was a great event. We had over 750 people attend. There was community resources available. There were school and district opportunities that students could see. You could see we had fire department here, we had mobile, there was all kinds of things. Families came get a balloon if they wanted to, shaped in all kinds of different shapes. So it was and came out to perfectly because at 6 o'clock, the comedian started and it started at 6 o'clock. So it was ideal. Our work with the strategic plan continues. Last Wednesday, we worked with the core team again, and they met. They had some final input on our portrait of the grad attributes, and then work on developing the goals that we'll be using in our plan. And so those are well on their way to being finished. They also had some input on the promise statement, and we'll be talking about that now on October 5th when we meet. And then,
It's not happy.
that's fine, I'll go on, I just put. Oh, there we go, all right, next one. So I did want to just speak a little bit about the implementation of new resources. I don't think I have to say a ton because you heard the principals tonight. They did a great job of sharing all the work that's being done. But Justin, the principals, Maggie, Laura, everybody is really working on the implementation of the reading curriculum, UFly and 95% group, which is our K-5. The new resources we're implementing with the K-5 students. Program. Okay, program. And then our principals out supporting our teachers and implementing that, allowing them to struggle, helping them because this is new, so we are going to struggle a little bit. We're doing walkthroughs in each of the buildings, and when I say we, it means principals and other principals going to other school buildings, not just their own. And then Laura, myself, Justin, Maggie, all coming together and doing walkthroughs and talking about what we're seeing and strategizing about what our next steps will be. And I also want to welcome anybody else that wants to walk and see some classrooms, see what's going on. Happy to have you come and join me on some of my visits to school. So just let me know and we'll find a time to get it.
Jennifer, or they just vary.
Those I would set with you.
Oh,
If you
okay.
wanted to walk, if you could give me some dates and I could tell you, yes, these would work. Immunization clinic, I just want to note that we are having an immunization clinic on Saturday, the 28th. It's at RMS. It's from 11 to 3 o'clock. Childhood immunization, COVID, all being given out as of 2 days ago. There were 6 people with scheduled appointments. They will take walk-ups, but if you want to schedule an appointment, then you know you could go at that time and be able to get in. So please let our community know with people that you want to share that information. And then finally, our homecoming football game is Friday, 7 o'clock. We have a board work on the 5th of October. Conferences start on the 15th of October, which is crazy. We're already at conference time. Then on the 23rd, we have our next school board meeting. Trunk or treat at RPS. That did get on there, and you don't want to miss trunk or treat at RPS. You might want to bring a vehicle and fill it with good stuff. You'll get to see all kinds of things. We have another board meeting on November 6th, and then WASDA conference on the 21st through the 23rd. And that's what I have for you.
When we add to WASDA conference, they are going to have several trainings available for meeting this training that you're required to take.
Okay.
I brought that up. I'm like, sold out last time. They say, oh,
Yeah.
no, we're working on that. So they're supposed to have like 5 different groups available. So we will look at the WASDA website and figure out what the event starts.
Yeah, okay. We'll look at it and make sure there's some that we know some need. And Andrea and I will try and probe you guys and tell you, hey, here's the ones.
Yeah, I've been looking and they're actually having one. Olympia, I believe it's at the WASDA office.
Huh.
That doesn't work with my work schedule, but it's like from like 9 AM to like 1. So that's something that I saw while I was up there, which last weekend.
Okay, so now, first reading of policies.
So we had two policies that you have reviewed. 622 requirement and the small work rosters. And there was language clarification for the school entities for bids to include women and minority owned businesses as that we need to consider them when we are looking and the next one.
I just don't understand.
Our next one was policy 6690. And that's contracting for transportation. And this one is with our bill 1248. This is updating the legal references. At this point, it doesn't change a lot of what we're doing, but there are. You remember when we talked about the employee benefits piece, when we renegotiate our contract, if this is still in place and have no changes, if there's potential. The new contract will cost us more because of the employee benefits piece. And those are the two policies that you reviewed about 2 weeks ago.
And is that the same?
Yep, those are all of them.
Okay. Okay, well. So this is the school improvement one we have
Yep.
to.
So these are the school improvement plans that you've heard about, and now you have copies of the formal plans that they have put together. There's even more information than what they shared with you. And we do need the board to approve these plans.
Okay. Do I have a?
So moved.
Yeah, I have a second. Any more discussions?
That's a great concept and
Good. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No opposed, motion has passed. All right. Stadium sound system.
Yep, so this is our high school, high school stadium sound system has gone. It is no longer working.
failed.
Yes, it has failed. So ASB does have the funds to replace it. And so the ASB has voted to approve a purchase of the new sound system. Making that happen. Has to approve that. Justin's been working with that a lot. Justin, do you want to add anything?
Nope.
When did it die?
About 3 weeks ago, right before the first football game.
Yep, of course it'd be right.
During the first football game, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Naive question, but why ASB? I guess I thought that.
Yeah, that is, ASB funds can be paid for things that you are not using on classroom activities.
Okay.
And it is not an instructional tool that we use. It is only used for activities that we do with kids. We looked at the ASB budget. They have a very healthy budget, so that.
Culture be
Yeah.
should, and they hold assemblies and things out there as well as, and all the athletics are ASB activities.
Kids shouldn't be being taxed. And that is something else that we went over at Watts this last weekend, that's getting put on the thing moving forward. About taxes and building construction. Sorry,
Okay.
I see that, it just always makes me mad.
All right, do we have a motion to approve? Okay, second,
I'll second it.
any more discussions? Okay, no discussions. All those in favor? No opposed, the motion has. Close this out. Okay. Eighth grade. So you're gonna explain that?
I can explain this, yeah. So our high school JV soccer team has not had enough girls on most occasions. I don't know if they've ever had enough. No, so the high school JV competitions. But because we are 1A now, they do allow eighth grade students to play up. And it does take board approval, but we could allow our eighth graders to play up and play JV. The plan is the kids' middle school season, which ends, I think, the 14th of October. And then if they choose to, all the girls would be invited and could go up and play JV at the high school.
You said something there. All the girls or just the top performing girls?
They all of the eighth grade soccer players would be invited.
We invited.
Yeah.
How many are there?
I think.
Well, if they don't have enough to field a team.
With the kids that are currently in school, the additional eighth graders would allow us to fill out a team.
I understand now.
Okay, I'm glad you cleared that up, because that's what I was. Okay,
I'll make that motion to approve.
okay, a second.
Second.
All right, any more discussions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No public comment online.
No public comment?
The lights turned off, so no one's outside.
Yeah. Okay. 2030, meeting is adjourned.